My name's Jennifer. I am a senior now. This is going to be my last fall semester here at USG. I am a communication major. I'm a full-time student, so both semesters in the fall and the spring, I typically take about 5 classes, all of which are comm classes. Next semester is the first time I'm taking like a couple classes that are like out of major. So I'm excited to kind of get a different kind of experience at USG since everything I've done is within the communication department. I do love school. I love to read and everything like that. I do work full-time, so sometimes I feel like school gets in the way. But overall, so far, I've had like a really great experience, and I feel like I really like to make personal connections with my professors, kind of take the same professors often as well to kind of ease the stress that can come with being a student and work at the same time.
Okay, nice. And then you said you're taking a couple of classes that aren't comms.
Yes.
Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, next semester I'm taking, it's a university-like course. It's about like planning your life after college. So kind of getting a little bit like dipping our toes in the water about like resumes, interviewing, things of that nature. I'm just kind of figuring out like what post-grad life is kind of going to be like. I have taken a university like level course, but I took it like years ago. It was like EDCP, like kind of getting yourself ready for college. So it's kind of like a full circle moment because I took that class when I was the summer after I graduated high school, and then I took a gap year. So then I ended up going back to school. And now to finish out my time at UMD, I am taking a class that's kind of like helping you prepare for what life's going to be like post-grad. So I'm excited for that. And then one is family finance. I think it's like family and something finance, something of that nature. But I feel like especially now in like today's day and age, super important like thing to learn about like finance and like how to plan things of that nature. So yeah, family, and I know it's like FMSC is like the abbreviation for it. I just can't remember the name of the class. But they are in like different departments, so I'm excited.
Nice. I like that for you. Okay. And then question, did you take some breaks from school, and are you returning to school, or are you coming straight out of high school?
I graduated high school in 2020. I did a summer semester at the University of Maryland. I want to say it was like 3 or 4 classes. I did like a program where like you transition into the fall semester. I did decide to take a break because that was like during COVID. And when I looked at like the course schedule, I was gonna be online completely, and I didn't receive any like financial aid. So I was gonna be paying full price tuition, and I didn't really think it was worth it to pay all that money to never go to school. So I took 2 years off, and I actually did go to MC first and then transfer to USG. So I took about a 2-year gap year, and then when I graduate in the spring, I do plan on taking another break before I come back to get my master's.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What drew you to USG initially?
When I actually didn't even know it was a thing when I was in high school. I found out like later on that it's been around for some time. But when I was at Montgomery College, a lot of my advisors and like there was like posters like everywhere too about being able to transition into a university, like in the university, like in Maryland, without having to go like commute to the school, and also like it's a little bit more cost effective. And there's a lot of pathways that you can take to almost like guarantee like admission depending on the school that you're applying for. There are a few schools like the School of Business and the School of Journalism that are super competitive. So they offered a lot of programs to help kind of bridge that gap between coming from Montgomery College and transferring into the University of Maryland. But when I kind of compared my options in terms of like even down to like the fees, like the parking pass, like it just was a lot more cost effective for me to come to USG. I also liked the idea of it being a smaller class size. When I went to University of Maryland years ago, I was in lecture kind of class sizes. So my professors didn't necessarily like know me like personally, versus when I went to Montgomery College and I got that experience of being in a class with like maximum like 20 students, it felt a lot better to have that connection with my professors, because I actually was planning on leaving school again my first semester back at MC because I failed a class and I didn't really know what I wanted to change my major to. I am a first generation student, so my parents aren't really well versed in the college experience, and I always knew I wanted to major in atmospheric and oceanic science. I was actually originally a STEM major all those years ago because I wanted to be a research meteorologist, and I felt almost kind of like, dang, like I don't really know what I'm supposed to do. Like I wanted to avoid having tunnel vision for a very specific like career and a very specific major, but I ended up having that without even realizing it. So I was actually gonna leave MC till I figured out what I wanted to do next. But because I was in a smaller class and I had a really good connection with my professor, like I think it was like the day before we left for winter break, and she had asked like if everybody registered for the spring. And I was like, no, like I haven't yet. Like I'm actually not sure if I'm coming back next semester. I'm trying to figure some stuff out. And she was like, no, absolutely not. Like we need students like you at school. I don't care if you take every class in the catalog till you figure out what you want to do. And she kind of like sat me down, like tried talk to me about like my interests and my passions, like what I kind of want to do with my career. So she could help me kind of navigate what could be a different option. I also spoke with I took COM 108, which is like the public speaking course. And I also had a really good connection with my professor. It was a smaller class. So I kind of started to see the pattern that I had a lot of value and benefit to having those personal relationships with my professors. Because had I gone to a school with a larger class size and maybe gone through the same experience of failing a course in a larger setting, I have no idea if I would have stayed in school or like what I would have done, how I would have navigated that, because the support from my professors is what really kind of drove me to stay in school. And then they also are the ones that told me about like, coming to USG, I could have a similar experience with my professors, and it could also help me easily transition into a different, like have a less almost like intimidating college experience, because transferring into a 4 year is already kind of intimidating as it is, but kind of being able to make the transition with a lot of the students that you've already taken classes with prior really helps ease that. And then you also are going into a similar environment, just at like a larger school.
Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, so I understand that your major is communications. Do you have a focus?
Not really. I feel like when I came into school, I always knew it was a pretty like broad degree. A lot of the times, like you focus on something specific. I used to want to focus on like PR, like public relations, things of that nature. A lot of the like dream jobs like I've ever looked at, like comm specialists at like NOAA, they don't really specify any like particular focus, like you just kind of work in the comm department. But as I've taken some of the classes here, like strategic communication is something I have found very interesting, and I feel like is a really nice focus that I could kind of look more into, like especially if I were to come back and get my master's, kind of go a little bit more narrow into that realm, because I feel like that's where I very naturally understand like the theories and the applications, and they feel really personal because they apply to like real world scenarios. And I feel like had I not had the experience with the professor that teaches the course at a school that had a smaller class size, I maybe wouldn't have figured out that that was a focus I was interested in. Like if I had to take it in a larger setting, or if I didn't take this exact class with this exact professor at USG, then maybe like it would have been different.
Okay, and then can you elaborate on the professor you're speaking of?
Dr. Leach. I took 2 classes with him last spring, quantitative and qualitative communication research methods, and then I forgot the other one, I'm not gonna lie. But I took those courses with him, and it really kind of like reignited my interest in like communication theory, and really understanding how those theories not only just apply to communication as a major, but also just in real life. Like I feel like sometimes because communication is like broad, and a lot of people don't necessarily always understand like what goes into learning that degree. Sometimes the lines can even get blurred for us as we're learning it. So we kind of feel like it's always the same thing, or like we hear about this, but we don't really see how it's applied in like real life. And I feel like the way he taught the course, and then like the contents of it really kind of reignite. I'm like, okay, like this is actually like super cool. Like now I can see like a lot of things through a different lens. I mean, he teaches strategic and crisis communication. Both I feel like go like hand in hand. Like in crisis communication, you have to strategically communicate to kind of alleviate that crisis. So I feel like, I don't know if he's in charge of this, but like he always gets like a really good like class pairing together. So like the stuff kind of all intertwines, and he just teaches it in a way that makes it feel like it is valuable for us to know this information, not only just for our degree and for passing a class, but also just in general and in life, which I think is really great. And he creates like a relationship with his students that really makes you want to know more and like understand the content and like put in that effort. Because like similar to you putting in that effort, he also puts in that effort to make this like a place you want to be.
Yeah, I totally agree. I take some of these classes with you, and I really enjoy it. Question, what's been the highlight of your time here?
I want to say it's like a mix of my professors and the students alike. Like I feel like I've been able to create some really great relationships with my peers, people who, because I feel like at USG, a lot of us are actually like around the same age. I feel like at the main campus at College Park, there's like a larger like range of like people who just graduated high school, and then people like who are coming back to school and things of that nature. But I feel like I've been able to meet a lot of people who come from a very similar background as mine, but also even people who don't have a similar background as mine. I've been able to kind of get an experience where I meet people from all walks of life, different ages, different backgrounds. Some people like aren't even from the area, like they just happen to like move here. And it's a really nice experience because like we all have a passion like for education and things that we do, and it like it's a very natural, like it doesn't feel like I am in this class with this person and we're in a group, so we have to talk. But like, like some people I made friends with, like, they're gonna be invited like to my graduation party. Like, these are peers that I've really been able to collaborate on a way that makes me a better student, but also a better communicator and just a better person like in general. So I feel like the highlight of that is just like the people we get to meet because of the accessibility that this school gives others to gain access to an education from the University of Maryland without having to go like all the way to College Park or potentially pay like the additional like balance that you would pay if you went to a main campus. And like even the fact that we can meet people from like other schools is really neat. But also the quality of professors. Obviously, because a lot of them teach classes at College Park, there is a chance I would have also taken them while I was there. But since, I'm here and I'm not there, I feel like those are a big part of kind of what made my experience like go so smoothly. Also advisors like Raymonda and having people like Steven who are super engaged and involved in our progress here. And even if, we feel like we're really self-sufficient, like students, like when I go in for my advice and show, it's like, you come in here and you always have a plan. But like, even if I feel like I could figure it out, she still always feels like a resource and like they're always readily available. So I just feel like the staff, like the people within our department have really made this a really great experience.
Okay, and then what has been the hardest lesson you've learned while you've been here at USG?
I think the hardest lesson that I have learned academically, I've always kind of taken to school like very well, like pretty easily. Like I've always enjoyed school and like a lot of concepts like I've been able to understand. But I think the hardest lesson I had to learn was that like, I feel like they always say this like when you're in high school and like, it's not gonna be like that when you get to college. And like there are like a lot of professors who are like super lenient, but like when you get to pursuing higher education, like it really is all on you. Like you could have like really lenient, really great professors, but if you're not on top of yourself and you don't keep yourself accountable, like it's not going to be a good experience for everyone around, because obviously your professors want to see you succeed and take to the content that they're providing, and like you're also paying for this education. So I think the hardest lesson for me to learn was like how to balance that and like not take for granted that I have even access to this education, because like sometimes I like find myself like complaining about the fact that I even have like homework to do, but like the fact that I even go to a school and that I have that to do is a privilege in itself. So it was really hard for me to kind of adjust to the fact that like this is like a really great opportunity that it's like not something that's in the way, it's something that's going to pave the way for things in the future. And just kind of getting better at managing, because I have like, I'm a really type A person, so it's kind of like funny to think about the fact that like sometimes I would get stressed out about like all the stuff that we have to do, but I'm like, at least I have all this stuff to do, and I just kind of got better at managing my time and like kind of spreading them out so I don't feel like one is kind of getting in the way of the other and that they work together. So it was a little bit difficult at first to kind of see how like what I'm doing now relates, like in school relates to maybe the job I have now, because I'm not working like in the field that I plan to work for in the future, but I'm just like, they all go together and it is a privilege in itself to pursue higher education. So it's pretty difficult for me to navigate that. And also because like sometimes I would feel like, oh, like the course schedule, like it's not like we don't have super early classes or super late, so it's hard to like work around my work schedule. Like this is so annoying, like, like stuff like that. But I was like, a lot of programs are crafted to try to like keep the majority of people in mind. So it's like, I feel like we do have a course schedule that kind of can align with a lot of people, and thankfully we can like make it work. It is pretty flexible, and just the access to being able to come to school while still having a job is very neat. But yeah, learning that this is not like in the way, just that it's part of what I hope to do in the future.
Okay, and then going off of the challenge, what is one thing that you're like most proud of?
I think my ability to maintain, I actually don't know this off the top of my head. I think I've only ever gotten like one like B like since I've been here. And I work full-time 5 days a week. Like now I got a new job recently, so it's like a little bit of a more flexible schedule. But when I actually my first semester at USG, I had 2 jobs. I worked every single day of the week, Sunday to Sunday, and I had class every single day. So I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. And that was the first semester. I got all A's and 1 B, and then I've been able to maintain, because we do A+, A-, technically, like it's like a 3.92, but I've been able to get like all A's along the way and like have improved like my study habits, my time management, my like kind of just organizational skills. So I'm just really proud of my ability to not let anything outside of school get in the way of my academic performance and take it on as something that's gonna help me, not something that's hindering me. Like not thinking about like, why is this happening to me? Like, why do I have to go to school? Why do I have to work? But thinking more like, it's great that like I'm somebody that like I go to school and I work and I'm able to still excel academically. And I'm super proud of the fact that, I pay for school out of pocket. I've paid my way, and by the time I graduate, I will be debt free, but I paid for all of that. And I'm super happy that I even have that to say. And my family, I'm the second person in my family to graduate from college, so I'm also just proud of that in itself. My sister got like a degree in education from Towson, so she low-key is stealing my thunder. But like we're both the first people in our whole entire family to graduate. My dad didn't even go to high school. My mom she started college and she came to the United States. So I'm just super proud that I've been able to excel academically while also still working and like taking advantage of all the opportunities I have, but also the fact that I will graduate in the spring with no debt. And I know that I paid for that like myself. Like I thankfully didn't. I always kind of felt like it was like a burden to ask my parents like to go to college because it was so expensive, but you know, they always would have been willing to support me and figure out a way, but you know, I always figured that out for myself. So I'm really excited that when I graduate, I know that that'll be something that nobody could take away from me. And as long as I stay on track, I should graduate with like almost like a 3.8. So, you know, I haven't let anything get in the way of kind of making sure that education is still what comes first.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's amazing how you were able to balance work and school together and still have a high GPA. And like the biggest thing is debt free. A lot of us is leaving being in debt.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about the debt, so that's amazing. Do you have any plans after graduation? I know you kind of talked about possibly coming back for your grad school. Do you know exactly what you want to do when you graduate?
I was thinking at a minimum, I want to take like a year off of school, just because I want to enjoy like having like free time, because especially when I worked at my previous job, I worked in like retail. So I did work, like I felt like I was doing something every day of the week. Cause even though Monday, Wednesday, I would be off like to go to school, I still had to go to school. And then Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I had to go to work. And then I would have to figure out like when I would do homework, when I would read, like things of that nature. But I do just want to take some time off to kind of like enjoy like post-grad life. I know it's kind of funny. Like some people I know who've graduated recently, they're like, you know, it's like a high and then it goes away because you're like, oh my gosh, like this is real life. But I do want to take about like a year off just to learn like the structure of like adult life and kind of like change. Cause sometimes I still feel like I'm not like a real adult because I'm still in school, even though like I am. And that doesn't mean that you're not an adult. So I'm just like, I want to take some time to like kind of get used to like what it's like to work. Cause I feel like also like if I work for about a year, like even if it's not specifically in like the communication field, like just other jobs too, I'll kind of get a different idea of maybe what I want to go back to school for. And like, it'll give me an idea of what I want to do in the future. So at a minimum, I want to take like a year off. I do eventually want to come back for my master's, but preferably I would want it to be because my job is paying for the education. But if not too, that'll also give me some time to like save up some money so that I can pay for it. I really hope I don't have to take out like any loans. That's like, it scares me. So that's something that I do want to plan for as well. But I definitely do want to come back to school. I think knowledge is power. And I also think that just having access to an education is something I don't want to take for granted. So since I have that access, I would love to come back. If anything too, crazy enough, like within a couple of years, I would love to like work for the communication department, like do something similar to Raymonda actually, and like be an advisor to students, because I feel like that's like the pillar of what we're able to do. And a lot of the times we have students who like this is their first experience as well as their parents, their family's first experience with higher education. So it's nice to have somebody to like navigate that with.
Well, that's amazing. One thing that I like really appreciate about you is like how much of a go-getter you are.
Thank you.
So that kind of wraps up our interview. I just really appreciate you taking the time.
Of course. Thanks so much, guys, for having me. I think USG is like a really great place that anybody should take advantage of, because you meet people like all of us alike. You know, you create really great relationships with peers and faculty that'll definitely last a lifetime.
Yes. Thank you.
No problem.